Seems like I do a lot with the SledgeFire these days, and for good reason. It's one of my favorite blasters to use. There is one slight problem though, and I found this out before. This little piece here that goes in the bottom, let me refocus there for you. This guy's incredibly fragile. If you break this, you see how thin that is. If you break that guy, then pretty much your control of being able to prime the blaster goes out the window. When this clicks back, there's nothing here to lock it in place, and it never primes. So I found out that if you're a little too rough with the SledgeFire, not so much with how you use it, but with spring upgrades and air restrictor removals and things like that, then this little guy back here gets pretty beat up, and then you're left with a shadow of what used to be a SledgeFire. This will become a laser tag blaster eventually. It'll be pretty cool, but it was a really cool Nerf blaster, so I got another one. Long story short, don't make that mistake if you like your SledgeFire and you only want to buy one. Anyway, so I am doing a modification to this guy with two tools. This is your plunger tube, and then these are your stupid air restrictors that hinder performance. Ooh, bad. So, I'm going in there with Dremel, with one of my favorite tips on there ever. This is pretty much a grinder. I don't know what it's specifically called, but if it looks like that and it grinds, it's the right tool. Use it. And then these guys, needle nose pliers. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going in here and I'm, smoothing out those edges, but then I'm also beating up this guy here. I'm essentially cutting it inside the housing, because if you leave that guy in there, which is, that's what the plunger comes up into contact with. If you leave that guy in there, and if you pad that, it makes things not quite so stressful for the rest of the blaster. And then this guy is going to be the next one out, but I want to show you one with it in, one without, and you can still see that I've actually left. It's still not all the way through, but the air restrictors are out, which does still improve the performance enough for it to be fun. Oh, let's move this guy out of the way there. Okay, so got our tools, and I'll show you how I'm doing this last one. Put this guy on about 7 or 6. Start smoothing out the edges. Don't go over this ridge here. Just go right up next to it, and you'll see that it starts coming out, starts looking nice. You're smoothing out the airflow, even though the inside still really isn't. I've still got that plastic plate back there for protection. But then as you're going through, you'll notice you can see a little more of that air restrictor in there. Use that same Dremel bit to start beating that guy up. Literally just drill right into it. Because what we're going to do, we are eventually going to take the pieces out of this with that needle nose. Alright, we got that guy pretty well beaten up in there now. I'm going to use my pliers to start taking the bits out. Part of it is just heating stuff up, so that way it does get a little more malleable and able to come out. So you're essentially cutting it down and ruining the air restrictor to the point where it's destructible, so you can go ahead and take it out. Now if it doesn't come out the first time, that's okay, because you got plenty of time. Sometimes it's easier to use a flathead screwdriver to move stuff around in there too. There we are. The needle nose is really better to get stuff that, you can't quite reach. Haha, I'm starting to move that guy around. So essentially, to speed this process up for you on film, moving those things out of the way and eventually removing them with the needle nose, or just having them drop out the backside. You can see parts scattered here. Alright, pretty much got this guy ready to come out. There. No more jingly janglies, no more air restrictors. There's some dust, but so you got nice clean holes, and that's going to flow nice, but it's still gonna have enough flow and less restriction to make the bump in power on the SledgeFire noticeable enough. Not quite as extreme as a spring upgrade and stuff like that, but I'd rather make something reliable that shoots well than make something really powerful that'll only do it a couple times. Alright, so we've closed up the SledgeFire again. I've also patted the plunger just to make sure that those internals aren't getting screwed up from the extra power that's flowing through this thing. And I've got 1, 2, 3 cute little shells. So let's up the ante a bit. Let's do this. Now this isn't the most perfect setup, but it's one that I've come up with that I think works pretty well. Got our modified SledgeFire here, and I've got all my spare shells in this guy. Now obviously I'd usually probably want to have a couple on hand a little easier, so leave these 3 up here for emergencies if you need to get something quick, but in general leave these up here, and when you've got the time just take them out from this pouch over here and load them in. The other deal is what to do with the shells once you fired them. Pop that guy out. I'm going to utilize this thing. This is a expandable drop pouch. You notice it's got a lot more room in there all of a sudden. It's foldable. You can seal it up here with the Velcro still, but it's got lots of room in there. I can actually store all of these shells that are over here and up here when they're all empty inside this guy when everything's said and done. Now that's 12 shells for a total of 36 darts. So that can be a lot to pick up, but utilizing a blaster like this with 3 shots per person, or if you're really talented, you can probably figure out how to hit more than one person with 1 blast of shells. That's quite a lot of ground to cover with this before you need to reload. So essentially it's fire, drop pouch, new pouch, fire again. It's not the quickest time in the world, and it's not quite as good as the stationary setup that I had showed you in that previous video. But when you're on the move, and when you need to put down a lot of ammo still, you need to be able to carry it all. This doesn't add stuff onto the outside of the blaster, which can make it a little bit fumbly to use. The storage back here is good. The storage up here, it's up for debate. I tried mounting some stuff up here with some Velcro, and it worked alright. But since I've got so much ammo, you know, you don't want to clutter up where you can get your ammo from the side of the blaster, from the back of the blaster, in this pouch on the side, so there's a lot of choices there. Then you've also still got room on this gear to carry other stuff, like I show you the flashlight, a screwdriver if you need to make a repair on the fly, batteries if you're using a blaster with flywheels, or just batteries to carry to give to your buddy that has flywheels. I like going out in the field essentially as a blaster medic. Having the ability to fix somebody else's blaster in the field can be really helpful to them. So I'm going to put out these last 3 over here and show you how this drop pouch over here looks when she's all the way full. I love the power out of the modified SledgeFire. It's just fun. So last guy in there, fold it over there. I can jump around and they're not going anywhere. They're not coming out the sides or anything. You can tighten the tops with these drawstrings on the side. But it's just a great little accessory to have for a setup like this. So yeah, at this rate I'm starting to think that I should just rename it like SledgeFire blog or YouTube channel or something like that, because I end up doing a lot of stuff on this blaster because it's a lot of fun, admittedly. But this reminds me a lot of that Hellfire firing thing.